Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Scott, Coach Joe here for our weekly video. We're doing the frequently asked questions. And Joe, you have a question that you want to ask me?
Yes.
From our viewers, sorry.
So this question comes from Leslie Stockton. So her question is, I hear there are a lot of injuries in CrossFit. Not any more than any other sport. Am I right?
I totally agree. I think that any sport that you play, because we've played a bunch of sports, and I'd say there are times that we've gotten hurt in some realm or another. But I agree, I think it's something that you do, something that you participate in long enough, something eventually is going to happen, right? So, Joe, what sports you play?
Baseball, basketball, soccer.
Cool. Any injuries through those?
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah, I totally agree. Football, baseball, had weak ankles, rolled my ankles a lot in football, actually baseball too. CrossFit. Any major injuries that you've had?
No major injuries with CrossFit. Definitely injuries. I mean, little things here and there, pulled muscles, that type of a thing. It just happens as part of sport.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like, tell me if this analogy is bad, but it's almost like driving a car and getting in a fender bender or even like a total accident. Driving the car more frequently, you're probably going to maybe get a ding here or there, right? You're probably going to maybe make somebody mad because you cut them off on the line, right? Because you're just doing it more often. So, bad analogy?
Keep going.
Okay, so my point of saying this is that something that you do over and over and over and over again, there's going to be something that's going to happen, right? I haven't had any major injuries in CrossFit. I had some injuries, right? Had my wrist kind of bug me. I've had some of my neck or my traps kind of bug me. But also, I have people take care of me too.
Yep.
So big shout out to Kinetic Sport and Rehab out there, Dr. Greg Johnson for taking care of us. Yeah, but I think that there's other sports out there, like I think soccer. I think there's way more injuries in soccer.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot more people doing soccer or playing soccer too. So you're bound to have injuries. I mean, if you just went and looked at how many females have ACL injuries in soccer, you'd be just astonished at that number. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. I mean, the amount of times that I rolled my ankles playing basketball, and had to spend time icing them, or playing baseball. Like every single time that I pitched, I had to spend a long time with ice on my shoulder and my elbow after that, because essentially you're causing injuries to your arm every time you throw a full game. So.
Yeah. Here, we're going to add on to Leslie's question. Joe, why do you think, or when you, maybe in your experience, when people, or you've known people that have gotten injured during doing CrossFit, like what has led to that? And maybe let's see if we can kind of somewhat help to prevent that or to, avoid it in some way.
So I would say the most typical reason is because people are using improper technique, and that leads them down a road that maybe they're getting stronger, but they're using improper technique, and one day they're just lifting too much weight or doing too many reps with that improper technique.
Yeah.
And the weak muscle group that's activated because of the bad technique fails.
Yeah.
And they pull that, that glute muscle or that back muscle or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Talking about like improper technique, like a lot of people like to come in, they like to do the cool movements that we do, moving barbells, they like to go fast, and they stop to think about moving smoothly, moving like with rhythm is way more important than moving more weight.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like maybe I can do some of the weight that Joe's doing, but not as clean, then I should probably drop weight, so I can then increase my intensity, but also clean up my technique and my form.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I've seen probably the same exact stuff as Joe has. I've seen somebody come in, they want to do so much, but they're just not there yet, and maybe we're working on barbell work and cleans or jerks or whatever, and there's just some technique that needs to be cleaned up, and they don't want to hear it, right? And I'll say, hey, so-and-so, we'll say, hey, Scott, don't increase weight. I turn around and Scott's increased weight. I'm like, dude, what are you doing, right? You have to make sure that movement's clean and fluid before you start, adding weight or adding type of intensity.
Yeah,
So.
because in CrossFit, we're preparing people to be awesome outside of the gym.
Yeah.
So for example, if someone's lifting up weight, like Scott's saying, and they are in a position outside, let's say they're gardening and they need to pick up the planter to move it, we're teaching them to do that correctly so they don't hurt themselves doing that.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's probably like 10% in the garden, the weight they'd be pulling in the weight in the gym. So, yeah, so guys, hey, wherever you're training at, wherever you guys choose to train at, make sure that it's a safe gym and don't be those guys on YouTube hurting themselves.
No.
Okay. As always, guys, we have a week pass. Joe wants you to be here. I want you to be here. Click the link below. Hang out with us for a week.
Yeah, come in, let us show you what proper technique is for the movements and see what you think of our program.
And cool people. All right. Thanks, guys. See you next week.